Hello everyone, welcome back to Python C. In this section we're going to build a computer game that has virtual pets. So we're going to need to define each type of pet, starting with dog. So we're going to create a new type of object. We're going to show you what that looks like and what that means. So we use this keyword class. And class, just like any other keywords like def or for, any of these other keywords, is a predefined word in Python. And what it does is it helps you create new classes in Python. So this class dog will have 4 legs, as you'd expect. And all instances of this type will share these variables. So all the dogs that we create with this class dog will all have 4 legs. And so we're also going to create this variable fur, which equals true. Again, another class variable will be true of all the different dogs. All of them have fur. And we're going to define a method. And method is just like any function, except it's specific to this new class, this new object. And it has this thing called init. So it's 2 underscores, I-N-I-T, and then 2 underscores. Often in Python we hear, instead of calling double underscore, we call it dunder. It's a dunder method. So we'll walk you through this. It's going to be a little bit weird at first. So the first parameter is the word self. We'll explain that in more detail. The next one is name, color, and breed. So each time I create a new dog, I need to pass it name, color, and breed. And so this concept of self, it's passing the object itself. It's like, in other words, the variables of this object and everything inside this object, all its methods, that'll be represented by self. And so this double underscore init is a built-in type, a built-in method for creating new objects. So we're defining this new type, dog, and the init function will create a new instance of the dog type or dog class. So the parameters, like name, color, and breed, will be attributes of this dog. And they'll be specific to each dog. So if I create a dog called Fido, it'll have a certain name, color, and breed. So these are variables that will be specific to that dog. Whereas legs and fur, that'll be true of all dogs. The name, color, and breed will be specific to each instance of the dog object. So each dog. Okay, so now let's show you how to create this, use this init method. So it's going to have self dot name equals name. And that's a little bit of weird syntax. It looks funny, but this whole concept of self. But self is just, it's a convention. We could use X or Y or Blueberry, but self is just what we have agreed is the right way to do this in Python. So self.name, self.color, self.breed. So we're saying that this specific dog will have the name, color, and breed that is passed to it at the time you call or create the object. And like I said, you could create that, make that X, but the convention, or the standard way of doing it, is to use the word self. We're going to create this method called bark. Bark is also going to have self as its only parameter in this case. It's not going to have any other parameters. And then we're going to print self.name is making a sound, woof. Very simple method. And then we're going to have this thing called description, pass it the argument, or the parameter rather, self, and it's just going to print the name is self.color is self.breed. So the Fido is a brown Labrador, for example. And Fido is in fact a brown Labrador. So we're going to create an instance of the class dog. We're going to pass it these 3 arguments. So Fido, brown, and Labrador. And then we're going to call the bark method that we defined here. And automatically, you need to have self as a parameter. It's expecting that sort of placeholder parameter. And we'll see that the function's working, the method's working. You notice the dot notation. So Fido.bark, in this case, Fido.description. Now it's going to call the description method. And so what's happening here, when I call this description method, it's referring to self.name, self.color, and self.breed, which I passed to it when I created the Fido object on line 27. And it's saying the specific instance, Fido, has this name, this color, and this breed. That's why it shows up there in the description. So what happens if we look at the type of this new object that we've created, Fido? What's the type of Fido? When we run it, we see the type is dog. Because similarly, the same way we have strings as a type, and integers as a type, and lists as a type, we now have this new type that we've created, dog. We built our own type of object. It's the same exact thing, same exact concept of strings and lists. These are all different examples of objects. We just happen to create our own. So this string, my name is PythonMC, if we check the type of that, it'll say string. When we check the type for 42, we'll see it says class int. And so class dog, class int, class string, these are all different types of objects. Let's look at the directory of Fido. And let's compare that to the directory for things like strings and integers. So now let's compare the different attributes and properties of our dog object versus the string objects. So at the bottom there we see all the different methods related to strings. At the top we have the methods that we've just created for our dog objects. There are some similarities. So for example, the _init that we use and the _dir, those two methods are built in because they're part of all objects, whether it's a string, an integer, or an object that we build ourselves. Some of these things are specific to the dog object, like bark and breed and description, etc. And some of these methods down below are very specific to string methods. So you can see how these are specific methods for strings, those are specific methods for dogs. We've created our own objects for the first time. Next step is to get into it. Try to do this yourself. Play around with the code. We'll see you again on PythonMC. PythonMC.